As the evening settles around you, let the gentle hum of the present fade into the distance. Imagine yourself stepping away from the warmth of your surroundings, carried by a soft breeze into a world long past a world of ice and resilience, where the Vikings carved their lives against the cold embrace of winter. This journey will take you through the frozen landscapes of Scandinavia, a place of quiet struggle and enduring spirit, narrated in a steady rhythm to guide you toward rest. Tonight, we will explore the daily challenges of a Viking settler, the bold voyages of a legendary explorer, the enigma of ancient runes, and the contrasting lives of a chieftain and his people. Settle into the stillness and let the rhythm of their lives ease your mind as we begin. Imagine yourself standing on the shores of a rugged Scandinavian coast, the year around 900 CE, as the first whispers of winter tighten their grip. The air is crisp, thick with the scent of pine and the faint tints of sea salt carried inland by a steady wind. Before you stretches a village of low, sturdy houses, their thatched roofs dusted with the first fall of snow, the wood darkened by years of smoke and weather. The ground beneath your feet is a mix of frozen earth and scattered stones, crunching softly with each step as you move toward one of these homes. This is where a Viking settler begins his day, a life shaped by the relentless cold and the constant struggle to endure inside the longhouse. The air is warmer but heavy, filled with the smoky aroma of a central hearth where a fire crackles gently, its flames casting a dim, flickering light across the walls. The structure is simple timber frames lined with wattle and daub, the interior divided by wooden partitions into spaces for sleeping and working. You might picture a rough bed of furs and straw where the settler rises before dawn, his breath visible in the chill that seeps through the walls. His clothing is a layered defense against the cold, a tunic of thick wool, dyed a muted brown, overlain with a cloak of sheepskin, its edges worn from constant wear. On his feet, he pulls on leather boots stuffed with moss, a practical shield against the icy ground outside. The day begins with the rhythm of survival. As you follow him, imagine the creak of the door as he steps into the pale morning light, the sky a pale gray overhead, streaked with clouds that promise more snow. His task is to tend to the livestock, cows and goats huddled in a small enclosure near the house, their breath rising in soft clouds. The wind bites at his hands, roughened by labor, and he moves quickly, scattering hay from a woven basket, its dry rustle a quiet sound against the lowing of the animals. The cold seeps into his bones, a constant companion, and you can almost feel the stiffness in his fingers as he works. The struggle to keep warmth and life alive through the long months ahead. Food is a scarce comfort in this season. The settler returns indoors, where a simple meal awaits: barley porridge, thickened with a bit of preserved meat, its faint aroma mingling with the hearth's smoke. He eats slowly, seated on a wooden bench, the texture of the rough-hewn table beneath his hands a reminder of the labor that fills his days. The diet is plain, drawn from stores gathered in the warmer months: dried fish, root vegetables stored in clay pots, and a sip of weak ale brewed from last season's grain. Each bite is a quiet victory, a moment of sustenance in a world where hunger lurks just beyond the fire's reach. Beyond the hearth, the settler's work continues. Imagine the sound of an axe striking wood, a steady, muffled thud as he chops logs to feed the fire. the chips falling into the snow with a soft patter. The forest nearby offers fuel, but the journey to gather it is a test of endurance, the snow deepening with each passing day. He drags a sled laden with timber back to the village, the runners hissing against the frozen ground, his breath a rhythmic puff in the stillness. The cold never relents, seeping through his cloak, and the effort leaves him weary, his muscles aching with the weight of survival. The community around him moves in a similar quiet rhythm. You might glimpse neighbors repairing a roof, their hands wrapped in scraps of cloth, the thatch rustling as they work. Children play briefly, their laughter a soft echo against the wind, before being called inside to escape the chill. The village is a tapestry of small labors, each person contributing to the collective endurance. The scent of smoke from multiple hearths blending into a comforting haze. Yet the cold remains a constant struggle, a force that shapes every moment, every decision, as the days grow shorter and the nights longer. Life in this winter is not without its shadows. Disease creeps through the damp air, a quiet threat that claims lives with a persistent cough or a sudden fever, though we need not dwell on the details. The settler has seen families diminished, their absence marked by empty hearths, but he presses on, his days a testament to resilience. The rhythm of his life tending animals, gathering wood. Sharing meals becomes a steady pulse, a pattern that carries him through the frozen months, a struggle endured with quiet determination. As the sun dips below the horizon, casting a pale glow across the snow, the settler returns to his longhouse. The fire is stoked, its warmth a gentle embrace, and he settles near it, the fur cloak draped over his shoulders. The wind outside hums softly, a lullaby of sorts, and the village falls into a stillness broken only by the occasional crackle of the flames. Imagine yourself there, the cold held at bay, the rhythm of this life slowing your thoughts, guiding you toward rest as we prepare to leave this frozen world behind. As the quiet of the Viking winter settles around you, let us gently shift our gaze from the frozen village to the open sea, where the rhythm of waves carries us to a different chapter of this ancient world. Imagine the horizon stretching endlessly before you, the air crisp with the scent of salt and the faint tang of seaweed carried inland by a steady breeze. As we turn our attention to a figure whose name echoes through the annals of exploration. This is the story of Leif Erikson, a Viking born around 970 CE, whose journeys across uncharted waters shaped the edges of the known world. Settle into the steady motion of this tale, and let the sound of the sea guide your thoughts as we explore his life. Picture yourself aboard a longship, its wooden hull creaking softly as it cuts through the gray waters of the North Atlantic. The vessel is narrow and sturdy, its dragon-prowed bow rising and falling with the gentle swells, the oars moving in a slow, synchronized rhythm that blends with the distant call of seabirds. Leif, a broad-shouldered man with a beard streaked by the wind and sun, stands near the stern, his hands resting lightly on the tiller, guiding the ship with a quiet confidence. His clothing is a practical shield against the elements, a woolen tunic dyed a deep green, layered with a fur-lined cloak of gray fox, its edges worn from countless voyages, and boots laced tightly with leather strips to keep out the damp. The air carries a chill, the faint mist settling on his face, and the crew's voices are low, their words a soft murmur beneath the lapping of waves against the hull. Leif's life began in Iceland, where his father, Eric the Red, had settled after leaving Norway. Imagine the rugged landscape of that island, its volcanic soil dotted with patches of grass, the air thick with the scent of moss, and the occasional whiff of sulfur from hidden springs. Eric was a man of bold ambition, his exile from Norway a consequence of disputes that faded into the past, and he named the new land Greenland, perhaps to lure others with the promise of hope. Leif grew up amid this harsh beauty, learning the skills of navigation and survival, how to read the stars, how to steer by the sun's faint glow through clouds, how to mend nets with hands roughened by salt and cold. His journey to fame began with a voyage to Norway, where he encountered King Olaf Tryggvason around 1000 CE. Picture the royal hall, its timber walls warmed by a long fire pit, the air filled with the aroma of roasted meat and the murmur of courtiers. Olaf, a figure of quiet authority, introduced Leif to Christianity, a faith that would soon spread among the Vikings. Leif returned to Greenland with missionaries, his ship laden with timber and the soft sound of hymns carried on the wind. This conversion marked a turning point, a gentle shift in the rhythm of his life, though the old ways of the Norse gods lingered in the background. Sighted land Vinland, a place we now associate with parts of modern-day Newfoundland. The shore was a welcome sight, its beaches lined with trees, the air carrying the faint sweetness of pine and the rustle of leaves stirred by a gentle breeze. Leif and his men built temporary shelters, their axes thudding softly against wood, and explored this new territory, finding grapes that gave the land its name. Life in Vinland was a blend of discovery and hardship. The crew harvested timber and gathered resources, their days filled with the steady sound of chopping and the creak of laden sleds. Yet the cold followed them, the winter air biting at their hands as they worked, and encounters with native peoples, known as Skrylings, brought moments of tension. These meetings were marked by the exchange of goods and the occasional clash. Lives sometimes poured out onto the ground, though we need not linger on the details. Leif's leadership was measured, his decisions guiding the group back to Greenland with tales of a new world, a legacy carried in the rhythm of their return journey. His later years were quieter, spent in Greenland, where he succeeded his father as chieftain. Imagine the longhouse where he lived, its interior warmed by a central fire, the walls adorned with shields and the faint scent of tallow candles. Leif managed his estate with a steady hand, his days filled with the administration of land and the soft murmur of his household. The Christian faith he brought took root, the sound of prayers blending with the wind outside, and his explorations became a story told by the hearth, a tale of courage tempered by the cold. As the sea's rhythm fades into the distance, Leif's life offers a gentle reflection on the Viking spirit, bold, yet bound by the land's harsh demands. The creak of his ship, the rustle of Vinland's forests, the warmth of his Greenland home, these images linger, a steady thread in the tapestry of history. Let this quiet voyage ease your thoughts as we prepare to turn toward a different mystery, carried by the wind's soft hum. As the steady rhythm of Leif Erikson's voyages fades into the distance, let us turn our gaze toward the quiet mysteries that linger in the Viking world, carried by the soft whisper of the wind across ancient lands. Imagine yourself standing on a windswept hill in Sweden, the year stretching back to around 1000 CE, the air cool and tinged with the earthy scent of moss and the faint rustle of grass beneath your feet. Before you lies a rune stone, its surface weathered but etched with symbols that hint at stories long buried. This segment invites you to explore the enigma of these stones, their silent testimony to Viking culture and the archaeological whispers that surround them. Settle into the stillness of this landscape and let the rhythm of their history guide your thoughts as we delve deeper. Picture the rune stone more closely, its gray surface, rough to the touch, marked by deep, angular carvings that catch the pale light of a winter afternoon. These stones, scattered across Scandinavia, stand as silent sentinels, some as tall as a man, others half buried in the soil. The air around them carries the faint scent of damp earth, stirred by a gentle breeze, and the sound of a distant stream adds a soothing undercurrent to the scene. The runes themselves are a mystery, lines and shapes that form words in an ancient tongue, commemorating the dead, marking boundaries, or recounting voyages. Imagine the hands that carved them, steady and deliberate, using chisels of iron to etch each symbol into the stone. The faint clink of metal against rock echoing through the quiet. These stones emerged from a culture rich with tradition. The Vikings used them to honor the fallen, their inscriptions often naming warriors or family members whose lives were poured out onto the ground during raids or battles, though we need not linger on the details. Picture a village gathering, the air thick with the aroma of a communal fire, where a skald, a storyteller, cited the deeds of the departed, his voice a low chant blending with the crackle of flames. The stones were raised in these settings, their placement a ritual act, the earth softened by the weight of memory. Some stones, like the famous Rack runestone, bear longer tales, their carvings hinting at mythological struggles or the counting of years, a puzzle that archaeologists have pieced together with patient care. The mystery deepens with the stone's origins. Imagine an excavation site, the soil carefully brushed away to reveal a stone's base, the air filled with the scent of freshly turned earth and the soft scrape of trowels. Archaeologists, working in the early 21st century, have uncovered hundreds of these markers, dating from the 4th to the 12th centuries. The Rack runestone, discovered in Sweden in the 19th century, stands as a prime example, its 760 runes weaving a narrative that scholars debate to this day. Some suggest it recounts a father's grief for his son, others a mythic battle against a serpent. The words carved with a rhythm that mirrors the sagas told by firelight. The faint patter of rain on the stone as you stand there adds to the sense of time's gentle erosion. Beyond their inscriptions, the stones reveal a culture of craftsmanship. Imagine the quarry where the stone was hewn, the sound of hammers ringing softly against rock, the dust settling on the workers' hands as they shaped each slab. The Vikings painted some stones with red ochre, the pigment's earthy hue still visible in traces, a splash of color against the gray. The process was slow, the rhythm of labor a constant struggle against the cold, with workers pausing to warm their hands by a nearby fire, the scent of burning wood mingling with the stone's mineral temps. These efforts suggest a society that valued memory, the stones serving as both grave markers and public records, their placement chosen with care along paths or near settlements. The archaeological journey continues to unfold. Picture a modern dig, the hum of quiet conversation among researchers, the air cool as they uncover fragments of a stone near a Viking trading post. Recent findings, shared in hushed tones on platforms like X in 2025, hint at undiscovered sites in Norway where sonar mapping has revealed buried stones beneath the soil. These discoveries raise questions: were the stones used to mark trade routes, to ward off spirits, or to assert ownership over land? The answers remain elusive, the faint outline of a rune beneath the earth, a whisper of the past, waiting to be understood. This mystery carries a shadow of hardship. The Vikings faced raids and conflicts, and some stones commemorate those whose lives ended abruptly, their families left to raise these memorials in silence. Disease, too, left its mark, sweeping through villages with a persistent cough, though we need not dwell on the specifics. The stones stand as a testament to endurance, their weathered surfaces reflecting a world where survival was a daily act. The rhythm of their creation a quiet defiance against loss. The wind brushes against them, a soft sigh, and the landscape around you grows still, the grass swaying gently under the weight of history. As the afternoon light fades, casting long shadows across the hill, the rune stones remain, their secrets half revealed. The scent of moss, the sound of a distant stream, the texture of the stone beneath your fingers, these sensations linger, a steady thread in the tapestry of the past. Let this quiet enigma ease your mind as we prepare to explore a different aspect of Viking life, guided by the gentle flow of time. As the quiet enigma of the runestones fades into the stillness of the landscape, let us gently turn our thoughts toward the heart of a Viking community, where the rhythm of leadership and contrast shapes another layer of this ancient world. Imagine yourself standing before a grand longhouse in Greenland. The year around 1000 CE, the air cool and laced with the faint scent of smoke rising from its roof. This is the home of a Viking chieftain, a figure of authority whose life stands apart from the frozen struggles of the settler we met earlier. Settle into the warmth of this scene, and let the steady pulse of their daily existence guide your mind as we explore this contrasting world. Picture the chieftain's longhouse, larger and more imposing than the settler's humble dwelling. Its timber walls reinforced with stone at the base, the thatch thick and well maintained. The exterior is weathered, its dark wood streaked with frost, but inside the air is warmer, filled with the rich aroma of roasting meat and the soft crackle of a central hearth that dominates the space. The floor is strewn with rushes, their dry texture crunching faintly underfoot, and the walls are adorned with tapestries woven from wool, dyed in muted reds and blues, depicting scenes of ships and battles. You might imagine a high seat near the fire, carved from oak and cushioned with furs, where the chieftain presides, his presence a quiet anchor in the hall. The chieftain rises with the dawn, his day beginning in a manner far removed from the settler's toil. His clothing reflects his statassa finely woven tunic of green wool, edged with silver thread, layered with a cloak of marten fur. Its softness a contrast to the rough sheepskin of the common folk. On his head rests a simple band of braided leather, a mark of his rank, and his hands, though calloused from handling a sword, are warmed by the fire as he sits to break his fast. The meal is more abundant: fresh bread baked with honey, slices of smoked salmon, and a cup of mead, its golden hue catching the light, the sweet scent mingling with the hearth's warmth. Each bite is taken slowly, the rhythm of his meal a deliberate pause before the day's duties. His responsibilities are those of leadership, a steady task that shapes the village's life. Imagine the sound of footsteps as he walks the hall, the rush of the floor yielding softly as he meets with advisors. Men clad in similar finery, their voices low, as they discuss the allocation of land or the preparation of a feast. The chieftain oversees the distribution of grain from the storehouse, the wooden doors creaking as they open, the air inside cool and dry, carrying the earthy scent of barley. He settles disputes with a calm demeanor, his words measured as he listens to a farmer's complaint or a warrior's tale. The hall filled with the faint hum of conversation. A contrast to the settlers' solitary labor in the snow, the hall also serves as a center of community, a place where the rhythm of social life unfolds. Picture an evening gathering, the fire casting a gentle glow across the room, the air thick with the aroma of stew simmering in a cauldron. The chieftain's family and guests sit on benches along the walls, their laughter a soft echo as they share stories. The clink of wooden cups, a muted sound against the crackle of flames. Musicians play a simple lyre, its strings humming a slow tune, and the scent of burning tallow from the candles blends with the warmth. This is a life of privilege, where the cold is held at bay by the hall's thick walls and the labor of others. A stark contrast to the settlers' constant struggle. Yet this elite existence carries its own burdens. The chieftain must maintain his authority, his decisions influencing the village's survival. Imagine the weight of his sword resting against the wall, a reminder of raids where lives were sometimes poured out onto the ground, though we need not dwell on the specifics. Disease, too, touches even this hall, a persistent cough echoing through the rafters, claiming lives with a quiet inevitability, but the chieftain's wealth allows for healers and herbs to ease the impact. The rhythm of his life is one of responsibility, his days filled with the soft murmur of counsel and the clatter of preparations, a constant balance between power and duty. Outside the hall, the settler's world continues in contrast. Picture the frozen fields where he tends his goats, the wind biting at his hands, the snow crunching under his boots, while the chieftain's servants carry wood to the fire. The settler's meals are sparse, his home drafty, his days a relentless cycle of labor, while the chieftain's hall glows with warmth and abundance. The chieftain's children play near the hearth, their voices a gentle murmur, while the settler's children huddle against the cold, their laughter muted by necessity. This divide, shaped by the land's harsh demands, defines the rhythm of Viking society, a quiet interplay of privilege and endurance. As evening deepens, the chieftain retires to a private chamber, its walls lined with furs, the air soft with the scent of dried lavender hung to ward off dampness. He sits by a small fire, the flames casting shadows on a map etched into wood, tracing routes his ancestors sailed. The hall grows quiet, the wind outside a soft hum against the thatch, and the village settles into the night, the contrast between these lives lingering in the stillness. Imagine yourself there, the warmth of the hall easing the cold from your thoughts, the rhythm of this world slowing as we prepare to draw our journey to a close. The Vikings faced a world shaped by cold and hardship, their days filled with the rustle of furs, the thud of axes, the murmur of sagas by the hearth. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and salted fish. Their hands roughened by labor, their lives a constant balance against the elements. Yet, within this struggle, there was a rhythm or pattern of endurance that carried them through winters and voyages, a quiet strength that echoes faintly in the stones they left behind. Disease and conflict touched their world, lives sometimes poured out onto the ground. But these moments were woven into the broader tapestry, softened by the passage of time. Now, as the night deepens around you, let that distant world fade into the warmth of the present. The cold of their winters is replaced by the gentle heat of your surroundings, the sound of their oars by the soft stillness of your room. The Vikings' longhouses give way to the comfort of your own space, where the air carries no bite, and the rhythm of their lives blends into a lullaby for your thoughts. Picture the firelight dimming the wind outside a mere whisper, and allow your mind to drift, carried by the steady flow of history into the peace of sleep. As this journey ends, let the echoes of their world linger only as a gentle memory, a contrast to the ease you now feel. The rhythm of their struggle, the warmth of their halls, the mystery of their stones settle into silence, guiding you toward rest. Sleep now, and let the past fade into the quiet night.